Hi everybody, thanks for dropping by. Now today's video I want to speak to you about the mug printing business, and namely when you get problems and basically knowing what the problems are. There's so many variables that can possibly go wrong, and I'm hoping that this video is going to give you pointers as to actually to pinpoint where you possibly might be going wrong. Now in my mug printing DVD tutorial, obviously I give you all the elements which I use successfully. That includes the printer, the type of inks, the mug press, the length of time I press for and how I press, the type of transfer paper I use. All these variables are, as I say, listed in my actual tutorial DVD, and if you're using exactly the same setup as me, you should be getting the same results. But I'm going to show you some problems that you can, or that can arise if you're sourcing inferior consumables, things like the transfer paper, for example, if you're choosing different inks, if you're choosing your mugs from an unknown supplier or from a supplier which you've not used before. You can get similar problems being attributed to a poor image on a mug, not necessarily straight away, but after a few weeks, for example, of being washed in a dishwasher or whatever, and you may not know what the problem is. So let me just try and iron out these little possible problems which you may come across if you haven't bought the DVD, and if you're experiencing some sort of problem with your printing onto the mugs. Let's see if we can sort of iron out where your possible problem may lie. Well, here's two mugs which, let me just try and get them near for you. As you can see there, they've actually faded very, very badly. If I just show you around there, this one for example, all the black ink has run in, the colours have all faded, as you can see. And this one also, although the colours aren't running, everything's faded. Now the difference between these two mugs is this one was printed about 5 years ago, and this one was printed about 6 weeks ago. Now obviously you would look at this one and say there's a problem with that one. You could look at this one and say there's a problem with that one. Now both of these mugs are, they have different problems. As I say, one's 6 weeks old, this one, and this one's about 5 years old. This one has literally been through the dishwasher hundreds of times, probably over a 5-year period. The ink I was using at the time, it was an unbranded ink. In other words, it was a pattern ink, it wasn't a dealer's ink. It was in a bulk ink system in an Epsom printer. It was sourced on eBay, the ink. So as I say, it was just a generic ink, probably an imported ink from the Far East or something like that. And 5 years of dishwasher cleaning has actually taken its toll on this mug. So that, as I say, is down to a poor ink. Not necessarily a poor ink, but an unbranded ink. Plus, as I say, today's dishwasher tablets are very abrasive. When I advertise these mugs, I advertise them and put a disclaimer in that I recommend people should hand wash them anyway. This one, however, as you can see, it is basically all the writing has run, the colours have virtually disappeared. Now again, I've used to print this one, I've used the correct ink, I've used the correct printer, I've used the correct temperature in the heat press, I've left it in there for the correct time, so I know that all them factors are actually correct, because all my other mugs over the years with this setup I've got have been absolutely perfect. Well, what we've done with this one, or this batch, is we've bought a batch of mugs from an unknown supplier. Now if you know anything about sublimation mugs, what you probably don't, or what you probably may realise, or if you don't realise, I'm going to tell you now, is that these mugs, although they're white ceramic blank mugs, they're actually coated in a polyester type material. It's a clear liquid obviously, and obviously it dries. They're probably dipped and then hung up to dry or whatever, and that allows the mugs to accept a sublimation ink. Now these ones, as I said to you, we've not used these ones before, these suppliers. Sharon does tend to change her suppliers a bit, but as I say, this is only after probably about 5 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks printing. So obviously, because we know that the inks are correct, we know that the paper's correct, the transfer paper, we know we printed it correctly at the right pressure and time duration, for example. The only variable which we've changed is the actual mugs itself. So we won't be using that supplier anymore. If we do get other ones come back and obviously say that their mugs rail, I think we've had one come back, to be honest with you, with this new supplier. Although we do, as I said to you, put in the advert that don't wash and buy a dishwasher. But this has been through the dishwasher many, many times, as I said to you. Once you actually bought the correct equipment, the equipment which I recommend, bearing in mind, as I said to you, I've made all these mistakes in the past, so I know for a fact exactly this is going to be the mug coating. You possibly won't know that. As I said, you might be saying, oh, my mug's faded, I don't know, am I printing it for long enough? I had an email from a chap not so long back, and he said to me, I'm putting the mug in, I'm doing exactly what you said in the training DVD, but the blacks are coming out brown. And I advised him, he told me what he was doing, his times and all that, and basically what he was doing, the mug press was going up to 200 degrees C, which is all correct. He was putting the mug in, clamping the mug in, but what he was doing was starting the timer straight off. Now this is what a lot of people do when they're having problems with the blacks or the colours not looking as vivid as what they should do. Because when you put a cold mug in a hot press, because you've got the temperature gauge there, as I mentioned to you before, as soon as you put that, even though it's up to 200 degrees temperature, as soon as you put that mug in that press and clamp it in, you can see the temperature dive down, 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 down. So you're no longer at 200 degrees, which is the pressing temperature, 200 degrees C. So as a result of that, he started the timer off straight away and waited for 3 minutes. Of course, he's taken the mug out, taken the paper off, the transfer paper, and the image is all faded. I pointed out to him that it does say that in the actual training DVD as well, is that wait for the temperature to come back up to the 200 degrees and then start your timer up and then do your 180 seconds. And he emailed me back, problem solved, everything's alright now. So it just shows you that it's very easy to miss something. That's why it's advisable to actually buy a training DVD rather than just ask the question, because you've got the DVD to refer to in case you forget little things like that. Very easily done. And he could have gone down the road of, oh, it's incorrect, and then he said he started increasing the temperature, and he tried adding dropping the time and increasing the time, thinking that the colour preferences were wrong in the printer and all that lot. But if you do exactly what I say in the DVD, you'll have the perfect results. Here's another one, just another thing as well about mugs and that, as I say, about selling your mugs and stuff like that. We get people from like clubs ask us to do sort of special batch runs of mugs for their annual event, for example. And here's one we done for a local motorcycle club. It's called the Meveringham Mug Fest. As you can see there, it's for the ZX9 Kawasaki Owners Club, and basically they had a few sponsors. There's a little sponsors image in there, for example, another sponsor's image there, and they just wanted to meet. Well, they said to me, would you design something? So I just looked at like few mugs they had in the past, and all I'd done then was just got some images off of Google Images, things like a passport, like there's your passport and there's a stamp there. I've done it in the style of a letter, as you can see there, look, just around there basically, and put a stamp there and a passport. That's your passport to success. That was a banner off of their actual website, which you can probably see there. I've got a little, is it a Las Vegas sign there, and I changed the word, you know, I was trying to forget the era for that. There we go. So it was a Las Vegas sign, and I said I changed it to a Mugfest sign. I put the Mugfest writing in there, as you can see. You can do these simple little things in Photoshop. But again, if you couldn't do that, if you go to the DVD, I'll show you where to get this sort of done, graphics done for you. It'll cost you very little money, and it'll save you learning Photoshop, for example. But I've got Photoshop knowledge, and quite a few people know how to do a few fundamentals on Photoshop, just like I do. And as I say, on the DVD, I show you how I actually do little tricks in Photoshop. And it doesn't have to be the full version of Photoshop. You can get a cheap copy of what they call Photoshop Elements. Photoshop Elements is not the complete Photoshop program, but it gives you enough information or enough tools in there to do the very basic stuff which you need to create independent images like this on your mugs. Now, one other thing I want to show you, as I say, we print on a A4, that's an A4 printer which we've got basically, and we print an A4 sheet at a time, and sometimes, as I say, then we hold them in stock. We use one, that leaves enough to. We normally, for an A4 sheet of paper, we can normally get 3 mug images. Let me show you here, for example. We've just had this one printed out for a mug which somebody wanted, and we've got 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 mug wraps there on this sheet. So we'd use one, and the other 2 we'd put in a folder, and that's all the stock of images which we do. So, but what can happen if you're not careful if you store too many, or if you're doing images of ones that don't actually sell very often, which we have got a few of, I must say, you can find that the images can deteriorate. And what I mean is, if I can just get this close enough for you, I don't know if you can actually see there. Can you see that there? There we go. The black writing, if you can probably see around the outside, it's got sort of a bloom or whatever. In other words, it's not the black writing has bled a little bit. And as I say, these are just kept in a folder, in a, like, we've got many of these folders, as I say, just like that, and in a basically under here. So they're out of sight. They're not damp, but that's probably been there for probably about 2 years, something like that. So, you know, you do get deterioration of the paper. So don't hold too many stocks. I mean, when we first started off, we was printing loads and loads and loads and loads out of images we didn't actually sell very many of, and we found ourselves throwing loads and loads away. So just use what you need. You're going to put one sheet of A4 paper in, you'll use one mug, and then basically the other two just go in the folder if you're going to keep them, as I say. But yeah, so yeah, there's just a few things to look out for. Poor ink, 5 years old, been through dishwasher hundreds of times. Poor coating on the mug from an unknown supplier produced a very similar result, but again, two totally different mugs. So yeah, just watch out for that. So if you have got a problem and you aren't using exactly the same equipment as me, or the same materials, or from the same suppliers, it's quite easy to diagnose, because if it's the same, because I know this now, because I've obviously been through this for many years basically. So, and that is why I say to you, if you follow what I do in my DVD guide, you can't go far wrong basically. But even if you do go far wrong, or something's not quite true, just go over and watch the DVD again and see if there's a bit of information that you've missed, like the chap who was starting the timer off at the wrong time. He didn't let the mug come up to temperature. And failing that, then you can drop me an email. I don't mind that in the slightest, definitely within the first 6 months anyway. So yeah, hope that was a bit handy for you. If you're going to start a little business, we're at the start of the year, give it a go. You can sell locally to start off with, and basically build up your reputation and start using Facebook and social media sites and stuff like that, and delving into niche markets, and you'll find all around you. If you've got a digital camera, for example, on sports day, every Sunday, if you've got like a young child who plays football or whatever for a football team, hockey team, anything like that, baseball, I don't know, wherever you are, there's opportunities there to make some local money, and then their friends tell their other friends, and then they'll find out that you can do also birthday mugs or Christmas mugs, Easter mugs, stuff like that, personalised mugs. And it's just a little way to turn a hobby into an income. Start it off as a hobby, and then start to snowball the effect. And before you know it, there may come a time in the future where you either go into a different branch of sublimation. This is sublimation printing, by the way, where you might want to get yourself a heat press, and then you might want to do mouse mats, you might want to do coasters, you might want to do all sorts of different sublimation items. But don't run before you can walk, and learn all the information, as I said, to get the fundamentals, get the right equipment, and then start snowballing your business one step at a time. Thanks very much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.